Hey guys, today we'll try to understand about typecasting. So this is basically in a programmer's point of view, like typecasting would refer to converting an object of one type into another. So it is uh, the definition would be uh, it would refer to converting an object from one type to another. Now let's understand in Python programming how this is used. Basically, there are two types of typecasting. One is implicit, and the other is explicit. Explicit. Yeah. So you check both of them. Let's start with implicit typecasting. Let's understand implicit typecasting. Let's understand what is implicit uh, implicit casting. When in any language, when compiler or interpreter automatically converts object of one type into other, it is called automatic or implicit casting. So when interpreter or compiler automatically converts object into uh, object from one type into other, we call it automatic or implicit casting. Yeah. Now let's understand it. Like, we understood the definition now. Let's understand what you mean by it. Now Python is a strongly typed language. You have to type it. Yeah. It doesn't allow automatic type conversions between unrelated data type. For example, I'll give you an example. A string cannot be converted to any number type. Yeah. However, an integer can be cast into float or a string. Whereas in other languages such as JavaScript, a weakly typed language wherein an integer is coerced into a string for concatenation. Now, you need to understand that memory requirement for each data type is different. For example, an integer object in Python occupies 4 bytes, whereas float needs 8 bytes. Hence, Python interpreter doesn't automatically convert a float into it because it will result in a loss of data. Yeah, because 8 bytes will convert into 4 bytes, which is a loss of data. On the other hand, int can be easily converted into float because 4 it has to be converted into 8 bytes. Yeah, it can add 0 at the start by setting its fractional part to 0. Now, implicit int to float casting takes place when any arithmetic operation on int and float operands is done. Now consider we have an int and one float variable. So let's see with an example. So a equals to, I say 10. Now this is an int object, yeah, integer object by its definition. Now if I say b equals to 10.5, this is a float object because it has a decimal with it. Yeah. Now, to perform an addition, suppose I run this. So A is assigned 10, which is an integer, and B is equal to 10.5. Now, if I try to do an addition to it of this, if I try to do an addition, the integer object is upgraded to a float object. Let's see how this happens. So if I say C equals to A plus B, yeah, and say I'll say print C. Yeah, you will see that the output will be automatically converted to a float object, which is a higher bit object. Yes. Now, we can also perform addition of two floats. So that was not the point. Here I wanted to show that the integer is automatically converted into float when you add or you do some operations on the float or integer. Yeah, because it gets to and higher. Now in implicit typecasting, a Python object with lesser byte, yeah, Python object with lesser byte size is upgraded to match the better byte size. You need to always remember that. Yeah. For an example, a Boolean object like true or false is first upgraded to int and then to float. So before the addition with floating point object, in let's see with an example rather than just talking. I say it's equal to a equal to true, which is a Boolean object. Yeah, true is a Boolean object, and I say b equals to 10.5, which is already there, which we have seen earlier. Yeah. Let's run this. I'll say, let me add this now. C equals to A plus B. And I'll print the output. Print of C. Let's see what the output could be. This provides 11.5. You see, it takes true as 1. If I would have kept it as false, the output would be 10.5 because false is considered as 0. Yeah. See this? So we had true, which is considered as 1 by default in Boolean, and it adds up to the 10.5, which is 11.5. So this is what we can talk about implicit objects. So basically assigning, yeah, assigning of a type automatically based on the kind of action that you take. Yeah. So this is very important to note when you're talking about implicit casting. So now let's talk about explicit casting. Yeah. Let me add some formatting. I'll say explicit. Yeah. Explicit casting. Now, what is explicit casting? Now, although automatic or implicit casting is limited to int and float conversion, you can use Python's built-in int, float, or str to perform an explicit conversion, such as string to an integer. Yeah. So it is used to convert string to integer or any convert any type to other type explicitly, where you have to specify the conversion explicitly. Yeah. Yes. So you were able to, in implicit function, you were able to do only this with the type casting was able to do only with int or float. But here we can do the casting with string as well. Yeah. So let's see some explicit casting in our next video.